I would like to issue a warning regarding this video on indications of satanic ritual abuse. If you have been satanically ritually abused, this video might trigger you. Do not proceed unless you have prayed and received God's permission to continue. I don't tell anything gross here. It's nothing that would be upsetting to most people, but if you've been abused, it could trigger you. The indications of satanic ritual abuse that I have mentioned on previous videos were more subtle than the ones I'm going to be listing now. It has been my observation since 1992, when I began ministering to people for satanic ritual abuse, that most abused people don't know this ever happened to them. This is because they have dissociated so effectively that they have no memory of it. And yet what happened to them profoundly affects their life now in a very adverse way, even though the abuse took place many years ago. One reason for this is they are programmed against themselves to abuse themselves. They'll have different dissociated parts that work against the individual they live in, and the person that they're living in has no idea this is going on. So I'd like to give here now some more indications of abuse from my book, Restoring Survivors of Satanic Ritual Abuse. These are more obvious indications. One is fear of crowds. Rituals are often held in crowded rooms, or there may be outdoor rituals attended by large numbers of people. We're talking hundreds, perhaps thousands. One SRA woman I ministered to was terrified at a 4th of July outdoor celebration where my husband and I had taken her to see fireworks. There were a large number of people gathered after dark in a field, and it reminded her of an outdoor ritual gathering. She was very troubled by it. Another one is fear of water. A common means of control is to hold the victim's head under water. Another one is dislike or fear of dogs. Bestiality is often forced upon SRA children of both sexes. An inordinate fear of snakes or spiders. A child may have been restrained or put in a deep hole, with snakes and spiders being allowed to crawl all over her or him, and they were unable to do anything to brush them off or defend themselves. Some may have an inordinate fear of bees, so they may have been subjected to multiple bee stings in some kind of torture they were going through. Another sign can be fear of medications. The satanically ritually abused person may have been drugged while being forced to do things against their will. Drugs are also used to open the spirit realm further to increase the torment of their victim. Fear of doctors and hospitals. The survivor may have been subjected to painful medical procedures for evil purposes. Cults often have their own doctors and even clinics. Sometimes people are abused so severely they have to be hospitalized for a considerable length of time in order to recover from their abuse. Another sign of SRA could be fear of prayer. There may be a fear of others gathering around the person for prayer. It can remind them of a ritual where they may have been surrounded while people chanted. So the minister should ask permission before praying with a new survivor friend, and be cautious about laying on of hands during prayer. Another sign of abuse can be frequent hand washing or hot showers. Sometimes this is an attempt to wash blood off someone's hands or cleanse their body from shame and guilt. Another one would be the ability to see and hear demons. Satanic ritual abuse opens a person's perceptions to the realm of evil spirits that others do not see or hear. And this is just another way they're tormented continually. Another sign can be gender confusion. Cults will purposely program confusion in a person regarding their gender. Self-mutilation, that could include things like cutting, scratching, burning themselves. Persons abused in satanic cults may have been taught to cut themselves as a means of coping with stress. Other indications of possible satanic ritual abuse could be the inability to pray. Cults will often go at great lengths to make their victims believe that God does not answer prayer, that God does not love them, that they are not worthy of prayer, or many other things to keep them from being able to pray. The inability to read the Bible. The SRA survivor may have been programmed against Bible reading, and until they are ministered to for this, they may not be able to read the Bible. It can be an honest-to-goodness inability in them. Fear of God and Jesus. The SRA survivor may have endured painful rituals intended to create a fear of God and Jesus. It is not uncommon for a cult member disguised as Jesus to horribly abuse a person. Memories of numerous rapes. When a woman begins remembering many rapes, it is an indication that she may be satanically ritually abused. Demon powers are stored in the victims through rituals, and these powers are accessed by perpetrators through rape. They also do this with male victims. Confusion. Cults often program their victims for extreme confusion. They may experience difficulties with reasoning and common sense. Backwards thinking. In cult families, children are taught that good is evil and evil is good in every conceivable aspect of life. Therefore, their thinking on many issues may seem strange. I would like to share with you now an account of a conversation I had with a satanically ritually abused woman about the backwards room that she had inside of her. A backwards room was a real-life experience where she was put in this room, and these things were done to her to get her confused and to try and get her to think backwards. But then after that abuse, they put this room inside of her through magic surgery. What they do is they make a replica of this room, and they drug her and make her think she's being operated on. They might dress up like doctors and have blood and cause some pain on her body and show her this replica of the backwards room and then put it inside of her. Then she believes it's there. And then they can continue to program her for backwards thinking by sending in demons or by bringing this backwards room back up in a satanic ritual and doing things with her regarding that room. So it's very difficult to escape because they put things inside of a person that they believe are there, but they're not really there. So here's my conversation with her. I ask, where really is this backwards room? And she answered, it is inside of me, and there is a little area of my mind where they planted these wires that they can switch so things get mixed up for me. Even when I read, things get backwards. Sometimes I can read and read and read and never understand because it all gets jumbled because of these wires. When you go to this room, they do things to you that make you very confused. They get you confused about right hand and left hand. They stand you in front of these mirrors and you can't figure out right hand, left hand, front and back. You're all mixed up. They turn the lights out and then they have these blinking lights and mirrors, and you don't know where you've been or where you're going. You think, have I been here? Is this a mirror? Is this a wall or a door? You go to grab for the door and you hit the mirror, and it's very confusing. They have blinking lights that are almost hypnotic. A light flashes and you think you see this, and boom, you hit something. You feel that, and then you see this, and you go over here, and you hit something else, and it's confusion, and backwards, and forwards, and sideways, and you don't know where you're going. But the clock ticks backwards. Time, 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 time. Time goes backwards. Time goes backwards. Time goes backwards. You cannot go forwards. At this point, she was becoming hypnotic. She received ministry for this programming, and Jesus removed the backwards room. The child altar went to the safe place, and the adult survivor continued to explain things to me. She went on to say, it was total backwards programming. You got so used to doing things in this room that things that were right seemed wrong and things that were wrong seemed right. They did touch programming too. They would slap you and say, this feels good. Then they would give you a soft touch and say, this feels bad. Combing your hair felt bad, but yanking your hair back harshly in tight braids felt good because it hurt and pain was good. Beauty was bad. A scratched face and blackened eyes were beautiful. Because of this, I'd rather have my face scratched and bruised than wear makeup. Good was bad, and bad was good. Another common sign of a person being satanically ritually abused would be having nightmares with satanic themes or violent themes. Sometimes memories of things that actually happened begin to pop up in dreams. Another sign could be demons manifesting. Through satanic rituals, demons are given control over a person's mind, body, and voice. And so a person who has demons acting out, speaking through them, moving their arms and legs, these are people I would suspect of being abused in satanic rituals. If a person is just having demonic problems because of their own personal sin, I don't think they take over the body as much as they do when it's satanic ritual abuse. Another sign may be self-punishing. The SRA survivor may have been taught that they must punish themselves for laughing, receiving praise, making a mistake. For example, it is not uncommon for them to hit themselves. They may hit themselves so hard they bruise their own face. Another sign can be abuse identity. The person seems to be consistently in hurtful situations, stemming from a belief that it is their role in life to be abused. Others sense their expectation for abuse and act accordingly. Accident prone. Due to demonic influences and curses placed on the lives of SRA survivors, some of them seem to experience more than their share of painful accidents. Another sign can be emotional problems. Low self-esteem, guilt, depression, anger, suicidal thoughts, unworthiness, self-hatred, and panic attacks are some of the emotional problems that may plague the SRA survivor. Another sure sign is nighttime demon visitations. The SRA survivor may experience terrifying demon visitations and demon rape at night. The incubus demon sexually attacks women, and the succubus demon sexually attacks men. Another sign of abuse may be the inability to wear restrictive clothing, such as a bra or even a coat. I once knew a woman that in the deepest cold of winter would not wear a coat. I even gave her a coat of mine, and she would not wear it. I didn't realize until much later it's because she felt restricted by it. Another sign can be the dislike of being touched. Another sign is the inability to tolerate certain sounds. Sounds such as crying babies or children, screaming, dogs licking, lips smacking, for example, may trigger emotions or partial memories of rituals. Another indication can be being troubled by strobe lights or blinking lights. Strobe lights are often used in programming and may induce a trance-like state or fear. Now, to determine someone has been satanically ritually abused, they would need to have several of these indicators present in their life. And even then, the person who observes this may not want to tell them, but it might be wise to pray and ask God to reveal to them what has happened. It's very important that we not put ideas into people's minds. And so I think it's best to wait. There's only been a few cases where I did not wait and told the person what I thought had happened to them, but mostly it comes up in the first memory or two that they have. If you would be interested in more information about satanic ritual abuse, you can visit my website, listed here on this slide. I have more videos on the subject and many articles about SRA and other topics related to the end times.